with fantasy football season approaching, in the next few weeks, fantasy drafts as well. Here's a few tight ends I have as sleeper options this season. The first tight end, Taysom Hill with the New Orleans Saints. Taysom Hill, we know he's a quarterback for a few seasons. It just didn't work out over there for the New Orleans Saints, and now he's been a tight end over the last couple years in fantasy football. So last season, Hill, he did a little bit of everything as a gadget guy. 83 pass yards, a passing touchdown, 401 rush yards on 81 carries, 4 rushing touchdowns, 33 catches, 291 receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns on 40 targets. So right now, this New Orleans Saints team, they don't have much going on offense besides Chris Olave. I think he's going to have a great season once again. Alvin Kamara, his numbers have declined over the last few seasons. And Derek Carr, he's a middle of the pack to bottom end quarterback, in my opinion, in the NFL. So Taysom Hill, there's been reports coming out the last couple weeks that they're going to have more packages once again for Taysom Hill. And like I said, he's a dual threat and a gadget guy is Taysom Hill, where he could run the football, throw the football a little bit, and go out there and catch the football, where surprisingly he had 33 grabs last season. And right now, if you could get Taysom Hill in those late rounds as a sleeper at the tight end position, why wouldn't you, in especially the deepest leagues? If you want to totally punt the tight end position and wait to the last round or two for a tight end, I think Taysom Hill could pay good dividends for fantasy owners. The only thing with Hill, there's games where he had 15, 20 fantasy points in PPR leagues, and then there's games he didn't do much and didn't even see the field. So we'll see what type of packages and if he'll be more inconsistent. But going into the season with his dual threat ability and gadget plays in that offense, he's a sleeper option this season. Next tight ends, TJ Hockenson of the Minnesota Vikings. TJ Hockenson, he's been one of the best tight ends in fantasy football over the last few seasons. But coming off the ACL and MCL injury, we don't know if he's going to be ready for week 1. And I highly doubt it that Hockenson's going to be back that early in the season. I'm thinking maybe week 4, week 5 for Hockenson. If he tore that ACL early in the season last year, I believe he would have been ready for the season. Last season, 95 catches, 960 receiving yards, 5 touchdowns on 127 targets. So another monster year was for TJ Hockenson. This season, as of now, they're going into the year with Sam Darnold at the quarterback after J.J. McCarthy, season-ending injury, unfortunately for him. And TJ Hockenson, he's a tight end you could get in the last round or even goes undrafted in some fantasy leagues, and you could stash him on your IR spot because, like I said, he's a big-time tight end. It's Hockenson. Obviously, it's going to take him a little bit to get back to form, but we saw last season with lesser quarterbacks once Kirk Cousins went down with injury as well. He put up numbers with Joshua Dobbs, was it TJ Hockenson. So it doesn't matter the quarterback. He's a big-time target and someone who can work the middle of the field. And coming off injury right now, he's a big-time sleeper where in the second half of the season, I believe Hockenson, that's where he's going to pay off for fantasy owners. If you want to stash him, like I said, if you have IR spots in your fantasy leagues, that's something I would consider if I'm a fantasy owner. And then you could get someone back mid-season like a Hockenson and hope he could get things going. The next tight end, Cade Otton of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Cade Otton, he's a big-time target in the red zone. We saw it a few years ago with Tom Brady. In the red zone, they used him well. Last season, in his first year with Baker Mayfield, not a great year, but he had a couple pop games as well. 47 catches, 455 receiving yards, and 4 touchdowns. So they didn't get any new weapons in this offense was this Tampa Bay Buc team. The only thing, new offensive coordinator coming in, and we'll see if they're going to be more pass happy and utilize the tight end more as well. Because like I said, Cade Otton's a big target. He's a pretty decent route runner, getting better at that. In this offense, it's Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Cade Otton, Rashad White. I think the targets will be there once again for Cade Otton, and he's just got to work the seam a little bit more. And this season, going undrafted in most fantasy leagues or someone you could take in the later rounds as a backup and hope he breaks out off your bench. Or if you just want to roll the dice and go with him in the starting lineup, you could do that as well. But like I said, Cade Otton has showed flashes over the last few seasons. Still a young tight end in the league, and I believe this year he could be a decent sleeper option. Once again, the next tight end, Ben Sinnott of the Washington Commanders. So Ben Sinnott, he was taken in the NFL draft, and this is a new offense and whole coaching staff over there with Dan Quinn in Washington. Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive mind, who was the head coach for the Cardinals for a few seasons. And they brought in some different pieces. Austin Eckler, they added in free agency. Obviously, Jaden Daniels, who's going to be a good quarterback, I believe, in this league for this Commander team. And also Zach Ertz, an old friend of Cliff Kingsbury, and drafting Sinnott in the NFL draft. But I believe Sinnott, he could overpass Zach Ertz pretty early. Ertz is on his last legs in the league, even though he's been a great tight end, no doubt about it. In the last decade, one of the better tight ends in all pro football. is Zach Ertz. But Ben Sinnott in these 2 tight end sets and someone who had a good college career could be a sleeper option for sure. And he's going undrafted in most 10, 12-team leagues. Here's Ben Sinnott, where he has potential breakout ability, especially on a team with a lot of young players and not much going on in the receiving corps besides Terry McLaurin getting his 900 to 1,000 yards per season. Jahan Dotson, he's been a disappointment, and there's not much behind Dotson as well on the depth chart to obviously compete for a lot of targets. So Ben Sinnott, tight end sets, he could help a little bit. And like I said, mid-season, it wouldn't be surprising if Sinnott is the starting tight end for this Commander team. And also a young quarterback, his best friend and security blanket is always the tight end position. So if you want to take a flyer in deep leagues or you think Sinnott could break out and you draft him as a backup tight end on your bench, even though I don't recommend that usually, to have 2 tight ends on your roster in a basic 10, 12-team league with 6 bench spots, you could do that. But he's definitely a sleeper option this season. And the 5th and final tight end I have is a sleeper. It's Tyler Conklin of the New York Jets. New York Jets getting Aaron Rodgers back this season after he went down after 4 plays last year. And Conklin, even with bad quarterback play, with Boyle and Zach Wilson last season, he still put up 61 catches, 621 receiving yards on 87 targets. And this offense, they didn't really add much in the offseason. I know Mike Williams they brought in, but he's not 100% coming off the ACL. He's going to be a deep ball threat, though, no doubt about it, for the Jets. But Conklin's got an opportunity to be that 2B option in this passing game, or even the number 2 or 3rd option at worst in this passing game for the New York Jets. Like I said, Aaron Rodgers, he spreads that football out. We've seen it throughout his NFL career. Obviously, the key is health with Rodgers, and if he goes down, Tyrod Taylor is the backup quarterback for this New York Jet team. But like I said, Tyler Conklin last season in PPR leagues, it seemed like his floor was 8 points per week, and his ceiling at times was 15, 16 points, where he was getting a lot of short yardage and intermediate routes he was running for this Jet team. So this season, with an upgraded quarterback and an improved offensive line for the Jets, Tyler Conklin, someone who's going undrafted in most fantasy leagues. A player who I think is a sleeper. That's a few tight ends I have as sleepers entering the fantasy football season and drafts in the next few weeks.